Hello and welcome to CHP Clean Hit Podcast number 5. Here we are today. The crew's back together again after a long hiatus. We're all here again.
Shalom.
Make sure to catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube and all the social media stuff. What's the handle, Ozzy?
At Clean Hit Podcast.
That's the handle
everywhere.
there.
No spaces.
We're back. How do you guys feel to be back?
Feels good.
And Ozzy?
Watch the previous episodes.
It feels great.
Yeah, it feels
to be
great.
back. Get
Previous
back in the
episode
swing
got
of
us some.
things.
We got some low views on the previous
Let's talk
episode.
about some Austin Matthews here, eh?
No, what? Patterson's better than Matthews.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
Yeah, he will be. Not a better goal scorer, though. Overall player, yes.
I won. Anyways, as we do here, let's get right into the
Talk about round 2 matchups.
Agenda.
round 2 matchups. Yeah, right into the agenda here. So we'll start off with Dallas, Colorado.
A lot of people had Colorado going to the final.
I had Colorado go in the final.
I
Same.
didn't. I had Vegas there, but Dallas was up. Dallas went up 2-0 in the series.
3-1, yeah.
3-1.
3-1 eventually. Like that's just hard to come back from if you're
You
Colorado.
know what's so crazy? All the series at one point were 3-1 except the Tampa
Boston.
Boston series. It was the Philly and who'd top of my head.
The
Philly
New
and the
York
Islanders were
Islanders, there you
3-1. The Vancouver and Colorado or Vancouver and Vegas were 3-1, and Dallas and Colorado were 3-1. And every single team that was down 3-1 came back, got a game 7, and they all lost. Take that
It's
in.
rigged.
except Tampa Bay.
I was saying Tampa was the only one that took it
With
down to
Colorado
them.
though, and Dallas too, but I guess Kudoman's better than Colorado's backup. They lost.
Hutchinson's
like,
not even a
both their goalies.
backup though. It's crazy.
I know that's what I'm saying.
He was
But
a third
Colorado,
stringer.
they
Yeah.
lost Grubauer and what's his name, Francouz, right?
Frank Francouz.
Francouz was actually
yeah.
playing
He
like
was.
better than Grubauer during the season, and they lost both those guys to injury, and they had to put Hutchinson in there.
Honestly, Khudobin's very underrated. He just hasn't gotten his like chance to shine. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think he's a proper backup. I don't.
It's
think
just
he's a
like even
starter.
though like McKinnon, like shout out to him, had a point in every single game, but he just like I guess game 7s are like you can feel the tempo. There's never really a blowout in game 7s in any sport, to be honest with you, but. Like especially in hockey, like for it to go to OT and everything, and you just saw the way McKinnon's reaction was when they scored that goal. He's just like,
He was just
like,
defeated, yeah.
and they didn't have the captain on the ice for Game 7, so it's
That's
tough when
true,
you use
Landeskog
that
didn't
vocal
play,
leader
yeah.
and like Rantanen, McKinnon, Kadri showed out, Makar, like if you look at the whole 2017 draft, it was Makar, Pedersen, Hughes, and Heiskanen. They were all in the playoffs and they all showed out for their teams, right? So it was pretty. You want Colorado to win because like you look at their team, they're very team friendly. Every player there wants to play for each other. But then you look at Dallas, you're not totally shocked that they won because they're so deep. Like they did make some key acquisitions in the offseason with like Corey Perry and Pavelski, and they did sign Bishop for that reason, even though he was injured. But if you look at it too, their big guns didn't really show. Like Heiskanen showed out Klingberg, but like if you look at like Sagan was scoreless, Jamie Benn wasn't really all there. Radulov was probably like their best top tier player. And then you have like who scored the hat trick in Game 7?
That
I can't even say his name.
He wasn't even supposed to be in the
I
game.
don't know his first name, but his last name is Kiviranta.
Yeah, like
something like that.
Cagliano was supposed to be there, but he got healthy scratch for that guy.
That
Could you
overtime
imagine?
goal was actually like if you watch it back, it was just a collapse and
It
a
was.
mistake from Colorado.
Kadri missed his
Two
player.
guys missed their guy, and then he was wide open, and then Sekera made the pass.
Scary nice pass though. Really nice pass. It was solid. Honestly, like even though like it's crazy, like the sequences how it was 3-2, and then 3-3, and then 3-2 for the Avalanche when they went down and scored with like 3 minutes left. I think
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
and then literally 10 seconds later, Dallas comes back and scores, sends it to overtime.
That was a good game to watch.
It was fun, yeah.
Great game to watch.
They did get defensively, like Makar, even though like that game 4, I believe it was, where he let that bad goal when he passed it
the
to his
goal off
goalie.
the front of the net, yeah.
Like they almost came back, take that in. But honestly, like I feel like Colorado will win a cup with that squad. It's just I guess it just won't be this year. I think Dallas still like they did win already versus Vegas 1-0, but Vegas is like bound to like just
Vegas is just
pop
so,
off. Like
we'll talk about them next, but
Yeah, because we gotta talk about
one
that.
last thing with like Dallas is that it makes sense that they're here. They've always been this good. It's just like things
Dallas-
didn't click.
Heiskanen and Pavelski were their best players.
Dallas is a very
Mhm.
weird team this year because I remember at the beginning they were bottom of the league for
They
like
were.
a good month.
Was this the
right?
year where they fired
Or is it
Yeah.
it's the year the CEO
coach?
called out? No, that was you talking
No,
about.
no, that's the and the year
And the
both
CEO,
of those, yeah.
the CEO called out their players, which like you never really see because the CEO like he's a part of the team, but he doesn't really make like hockey. Like he doesn't like trade this guy or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
No, but he's the one paying them. Like
he was the ones that paying them,
Right.
but like
still, it's
for you to call like
it's
if you're a
unprofessional.
GM,
It's
yeah.
unprofessional.
Even like with Nashville in the earlier rounds, their GM called out Duchesne, right? Like you as a GM you can because you're the one who gave him that contract,
Yeah.
right? But a CEO like
I still wouldn't though, like mid playoff series. But like this is like during the year that he called them out. But no, like Dallas, it makes sense.
even though like honestly I'm telling you right
surprised
now,
they
They
got
were just
through.
they were just super inconsistent the
Sagan-
whole year, and then
Sagan and Ben during the year weren't that like even like in the playoffs versus the Avalanche, they weren't like
Yeah,
they were just nowhere to
It
be.
took them a while to find their stride this year, but I think like they're just a good all around.
They cycled. Like if you watch their game, if you look at if you looked at if you looked at their like at their game, like them in Vegas, their cycle game is unbelievable. First of all, you start off with your defenseman, and that's what people are starting to like go on from now. So if you look at it, like everyone's like, if you look at defense wins championships, right? So like you have to start if you have a good like defensive core,
Yeah.
your offense will take care of itself.
it's true.
So like if you look at Vegas, for example, they're winning games 2-0 or 1-0, or even Vancouver, they're winning like they won like game 6 4-0, but 2 of them were empty netters, and Thatcher Demko just ran into a hot goalie, right? So if you have a good defense, even yesterday when Vegas lost 1-0, Dallas held it down. It's just, it is what it is.
They
made
locked it
one
down.
goal.
It was
Yeah.
a boring
game
game.
ones I feel like are always a write off because the teams don't really know each other,
Yeah,
right? So after
Yeah.
game one, like if you get game one, obviously that's very good for you, but it's kind of a write off for me.
I think besides Tampa, Tampa's just too good.
Yeah, there's obvious teams there, but with Dallas, I know it's easy to say, but they really had they were more experienced than Colorado.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were.
Those guys were older. They've been through a lot more.
And-
most of the guys are in their prime. Pavelski's there.
It's just bad luck, like
You
with
know?
your goaltending and then losing Landeskog game 7.
And bad luck too. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? And like officiating wasn't too bad. Like it was pretty like fine. It was fine, but it's just and you know he just sometimes he got out coached. Like I said, their cycles is too good, and the way they forecheck and the way like it literally looked like a Barry Trotz team back there. But like even like you look at Jamie Benn and all that stuff, and their power play unit was ridiculous. Pavelski played out of his mind like he was back in San Jose, and Corey Perry was.
He's a pass. He did his
the
job
best.
really
He did
well.
He did his job right.
As much as I hate to say it,
he did his job.
I'm not a
Miro
Corey Perry fan.
Heiskanen was the best player.
Miro
for them.
Heiskanen, Miro Heiskanen, literally, if Dallas wins the cup, he'll get Conn Smythe.
Right now, yeah.
He will.
now.
After that series, yes.
Like he was second. He was behind McKinnon for points.
Mm-hmm.
Second to
As a
Tied
McKinnon.
for
defense.
second, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a defenseman, as a first. This is his first playoff run, I believe. Well, did they make it last year? But he was
Yeah,
a
they
rookie.
made it last year.
But he was a rookie, right? So this is his actual first. Like he geared up for it, and he's been showing. Like he's the way he skates. Like I said, that 2017 draft with Hughes, Makar, and Pedersen, and
Heiskanen.
I think
and
Hughes,
Heiskanen.
I think Hughes was 2018
Hughes was 2018.
Was it 2018?
because
Pretty sure it
2017 was Heischer, and then Patrick, and then Heiskanen,
And then
number four
Makar.
was Makar, right?
And
Number
then
four.
Pedersen went then there.
And then 5 was Pedersen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like that slew that draft.
The young
Ridiculous.
defense is just insane. Actually, this whole playoffs, I think that's the theme of this playoffs.
Defenseman.
The defenseman, young defenseman, like
If you look at the
Jones,
games, like,
Werenski.
The games were either going to OT. There was no like the only like I think the Islanders like
The
blew
whole
out
team, the Islanders are forwards or
yeah.
defenses.
But like even like Robin Leonard in the Vegas series versus Colorado versus Vancouver.
We'll
he
get
had
to
3
that.
shutouts. You know what I'm saying? So
Very defensive playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So let's move on to that series, Vegas and Vancouver. Honestly, good for Vancouver to rally back. Like Thatcher Demko played out of his absolute mind. You know what I mean, and I feel like every year in the playoffs, there's one goalie that just stands on their
it
head.
was Bennington.
Bennington last year, and
That's
Demko
right.
and Markstrom are both sick goalies this year. You know what I mean? They're both
Markstrom's
insane.
gonna get paid. I'm not sure by
See,
Vancouver.
do you?
Probably
But
not
yeah,
by
like
Yeah.
Markstrom's 30, Demko's way younger, and then
yeah.
He's
like-
the first California born goaltender to I think either
At the same time,
win in the
though,
playoffs or get a shutout in the playoffs.
yeah.
At the same time, like Demko's had a few games during the season, and he was like average at best.
Mhm.
He only played what 2 games.
So
3
the
games.
thing is, Markstrom got injured towards the end of the year. I think he had like broken ribs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's when COVID hit. So like Demko didn't really have too much sample size to show. what he
Right, but
can do.
before then he was kind of
Yeah.
like he wasn't really lights out, and this like it's 3 games. It's a small sample size. 3
Really
games
small.
against the same team. You know what I mean?
But like he was like 50 shots, 40 shots, 40. Like
Still,
it was like
at the same time, you know, it's the same team. You get used to like their
I
plays
guess
and
so.
things like that. And so if I'm like Vancouver, you know, that's still a tough decision for me. Like, do
It
I
is.
let
You
Markstrom
even
Markstrom
saw,
walk?
yeah. I take.
Do
Markstrom.
I trust Demko enough?
I
you know?
take Markstrom. You know what I'm saying? Like you would keep like if Demko like thing is Demko can't just go out now and ask for a contract like $5 million whatever, right?
No, he's still
They're gonna
entry-level.
give him a contract. I don't know if he's on still his entry level contract or what? Oh, no,
I
no.
think
But
it's probably another year.
they're gonna
or two.
keep Markstrom. They're gonna sign Markstrom, and then they're gonna keep Demko as a backup, and then see what goes from there, right? Like you look at Murray and like the Pittsburgh
Mhm.
situation there, or you look at like even Vegas. Like Vegas, they're like you look at their goaltending situation. They played Leonard, game 6, they got shut out 4-0, and then they come back to him in game 7, and like you'd think ideally, okay, you have two elite goaltending. You go
play
back
Fleury,
to Fleury,
yeah.
right? Showed
That
out
was-
like they won 2-0.
That was another big theme with the Vegas. I think that's probably the biggest theme with Vegas. It was the
That whole
goalies.
series, Vegas just dominated.
Yeah.
Except for that one game, Vancouver really
Yeah.
outplayed them.
It was
But
a 4-0
Vegas was dominating Vancouver that whole series. Just that Thatcher Demko kept them in there.
Even the 2 games where like Demko came in, I felt like Vegas was just toying with them. I never felt like
it
Vancouver
was.
was gonna.
They were trying hard.
They ran into a hot goaltender.
Demko was literally
That's what
making
it was.
like
That's literally what it
insane
was.
saves.
Oh, I remember
after
that,
saves.
yeah. No,
Crazy.
But like the thing is, Vegas is like another thing too. Mark Stone, like you
So
always
good.
say it,
He's the best player. On that
probably
team.
the
But,
most
yeah.
underrated player.
What's under
in the
Max
league by
Pacioretty.
far.
So Max Pacioretty has the most goals on that team. But Mark Stone, like what he does, yeah, like all you
He's
mentioned,
smart, man.
like two-way,
Mhm.
yeah, like unbelievable. Like I remember when he got traded from Ottawa to Vegas, it was kind of like a sign-in trade.
Yeah,
And I think they give him like $9 million. And everyone's
I
like,
think
"Whoa,
it's
what are you
8
doing?"
8.8, right? Or is it 9?
8.5 or 9.
It was like immediately after he was traded. Like half an
immediately,
hour
like
later,
right
that's
out,
when-
yeah. Like and people were like Vegas knows like this guy's like
he's real. He's a legit.
He's
They're
a
gonna
he's a
name
leader.
him captain next season,
100%.
right? Because he deserves it to be there. But no, he's their best player. He's a really smart player, good leader.
Honestly, like he's. I wish
You even looked
the
at it
Oilers would get someone like
when
that.
they were shaking hands and you looked at Demko and you just shook his head like
For sure,
we
like-
didn't know how to solve you. And
Imagine they lost that game 7.
If
because
they
of Demko.
lost,
that
it-
would have been kind of like
Buddy, do you guys see? You guys watch the game 7?
you did, yeah. Like it was tight the whole time, and then out
No,
of
Vegas had 30 shots in the third period. In starting the third period,
7,
6.
yeah, something like that.
They started the third period with 6 shots
Yeah.
on goal. Vancouver did.
So like Theodore's goal was out of nowhere. Taken Theodore scored. So the last I think it was game 5.
Mm-hmm.
They lost. They scored 1 goal. Game 6 he scored no goals. Game 7 they scored. So Demko started 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah,
Theodore scored a goal in game 5. That's it. That's the only one scored for Vegas. No one scored in game 6. And then game 7, he's the one that scored that first goal. So
Yeah.
Theodore, and even if you look at the goal, it was a snapshot from the blue line, right? And it just found its way through the net. But like you literally,
it was a perfect shot.
it was a perfect
was a
shot.
perfect
But
shot.
that
That's the
was
only way to
the
beat Demko.
only way to beat Demko. Was like
Yeah.
you have to like pinpoint it. It was literally pretty much bar down,
Yeah.
and like you couldn't like if you look at a Demko too, like he's tall, like he's a big goaltender.
yeah.
But like you said, the better team won. Like I would have been like, don't get me wrong, like as a Canadian, like you want to cheer for Canadian teams and everything, right? But if Vegas lost that game, it would have been bad
Vegas.
because, like you said, shots through the first 2 periods, 30-7. That's unacceptable. Like it shouldn't. A team like that, like if you didn't have double-digit shots yet, it's crazy. But
Sometimes that's what it comes down to in hockey. Like you can have a goalie steal a game for
Like
you.
Philly.
Like,
100%.
a player,
and the Island.
can never be as impactful as a goalie is,
yeah.
especially in playoffs for ice hockey.
Even with Philly, like Philly with Carter Hart,
Philly, man.
game 6. Like you kidding me? Like the Islanders killed them.
Yeah, let's just go to that one now. So Islanders Philly, you're right. Game 6, we were watching it here, and
It's killed them. It's just
it was a massacre.
It
And
was
then
like-
somehow they just.
you know what it was? You know what the funny thing is too is like they had like Philly scored because one of the Islanders defensemen didn't have their stick.
Yeah,
So essentially they're playing with 4 dudes. He tried to like as Philly was attacking, the Islanders defenseman tried to go for a stick, but it was kind of too far from the bench, so he couldn't make his way there, or he lost the play. And then Provorov just had a good shot. Kevin Hayes made a play, and they scored. That was it. But like you said, Game 7 really showed who the better team was. Right? It was complete shutout.
That series shouldn't have went to 7 games. I think Islanders
No.
should have beat them
Even Vegas and
5 or 6.
Vancouver shouldn't have won 7 games, and
yeah, they shouldn't have either. Yeah, honestly, the Islanders just like insane team.
Insanely boring. To
boring.
watch.
Yeah, boring. But I don't know. Actually,
They're getting exposed by Tampa
Barzal.
Bay right now as we're
Yeah,
recording.
yeah.
It's 5-1 or 6-1 or whatever it
Yeah.
is. But
Barzal is just so nice to watch.
yeah,
Like
he
he's
is. He
just-
is quick.
when
Him
he
and
has the puck.
Bavilier and
he really got beat up this
Eberle
entire
too.
playoffs.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
entire
it's-
playoffs, he's just
yeah,
getting
he did.
beat
and
up
warm-ups.
every single play.
But like Barry Trotz though.
Yeah, we already know.
We
like,
knew
he's
he was
championship
like this.
coach.
Yeah,
Championship
yeah.
coach. You know?
I can't see them
But-
winning the cup though. I just can't see them winning.
It's
the
just
cup.
like such a perfect piece for Barry Trotz to go to the Islanders team. Like they already have so many defensive players that are proven.
Yeah.
And then Barry
I wonder
Trotz
how
was
John
like,
Tavares feels right now, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
he's playing for his team.
But still, like
Just
your
Jonathan
team's
Singh.
that like your ex team is better than your current team. Your current team on paper has better players like by name,
Mm-hmm.
but the depth and like the lackluster the defenseman, the Donaire sauce,
Yeah, Donaire sauce in Toronto.
horrible.
Swiss cheese.
Swiss cheese.
But like the Islanders, like I want to like them. But I just like it's something for me to
You can't cheer. You can't cheer for like. Don't get me wrong. Like
They
You
just
give them credit.
They're
yeah,
one of
give
the
credit,
better
yeah,
dynasties.
like, they're a great
You know,
team,
great group.
but it's just like I'm
even their history, right? Like
I'm
the
bored.
dynasty of it.
I'm bored.
Yeah, they used
What
to
I'm
have a
hoping for is
dynasty. Yeah.
because before the Oilers had their dynasty, the Islanders had a
Islanders
dynasty.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that history repeats itself.
That's not gonna happen.
I'm not an Oilers fan, by the way. I'm just a league fan.
Oilers are winning the cup next year.
No, they're not.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
I hope they do.
We'll talk about that when talking
when
about
it's
when we're
time,
talking about
yeah.
the free agency because I want to talk about who we should bring in and stuff.
But let's talk about Tampa Bay and Boston.
Tampa's winning the cup. It's no surprise. Tuukka Rask leaving. You can't blame the guy. He left because of his daughter. Even if it wasn't, it's not like nobody's.
It's none of their business.
no
That
one's
was- yeah.
business. Like the league, even with like the NBA, except the MLB, they don't have a bubble, which is still crazy to me. But
Stupid, yeah.
the NBA and the NHL said if you play and you don't want to leave, if you want to leave, I know I said that wrong. If you want to leave, it's fine. Like there's no consequences. Nothing's gonna affect you, right? He left. He didn't feel comfortable. People were on social media were saying, "Oh yeah, he left." It was pretty suspect that he said it's not. It doesn't feel like a playoff atmosphere. Well, of course, just he was the one that said that, right? No
Yeah.
player's gonna come out and say this is that, right? He left. He left because his daughter, and even if he didn't, it doesn't really matter. But Halak played good. He played like a starting goaltender, but it was just like it was time for Boston. Like they didn't have like Patrice Bergeron. You can see it in him. Like it's starting like
There's the
like
wear-
old
the wear and
age.
tear, yeah.
Like his age is starting to kick in. Pasta played like Pasta. Marchand was getting shut down. Like if you looked how like Tampa dealt with them, it was neutralize their top players, their elite players. And like Ozzy mentioned in the previous episodes when they got Bogosian and Coleman and all those boys, that's who made that difference at series, right? Of course, Point, Kucherov, Hedman, those guys took care of it. Their special unit, their power play finally clicked. That's what was the key for them. And Vasilevsky, man, like that team, anywhere you look at it, best forwards, best defenseman, best goaltender in the league,
There's not
top
Yeah.
3 coach. Like it's
there's not a good player on that Tampa Bay Lightning team because they're all great. Every single player is great. It's fantastic. Like, and then you have, the elite players that show up too. Like their goalies, the best in the league. Kucherov's the best, one of the best point scorers in
Yeah.
the league.
like Bogosian.
Hedman's the best defenseman in the
Yeah.
league probably.
And Sergachev, no one talks about Sergachev,
There's so
but
much-
he puts up
yeah.
so much points.
And
There's
buddy,
so much good on that team.
That Blake Coleman, is it Barclay Goodrow,
Yeah.
Blake Coleman, and who's the third
Zach
guy?
Bogosian.
I think Killorn or Yannick
Killorn?
Killorn or
Zach
That's-
Bogosian's defense.
That line, like that was a line they missed last year.
Yeah.
Bro, and then they got Maroon on the fourth, and
And then, like-
Shattenkirk came for free.
And then
Yeah.
McDonough came back, and then
Done
you
too,
have
yeah.
like the line of Point, Cooch, and who's the other wing?
I think is it
I
Johnson?
think right now it's Palat because Stamkos.
Andre Palat.
Stamkos is not even on that team.
Literally,
yet.
take
He's
that in.
Still not
Yeah.
on that team.
And
he
he's
might not
actually-
even playing for finals either.
He's not playing for sure for this series.
And
He's out for
Hedman's
this series,
hobbled.
sure.
Hedman had an ankle injury before the series
Yeah.
started, so he's hobbled. But like that team, like it finally, because last year, like really eye opening, right? Like they took like Columbus for granted.
They needed the grind. They needed
But-
that grit on the team.
Like Ozzy mentioned in the previous episodes, they got the players that they didn't have last year. So now, literally, you take last year's Tampa Bay team, add a third and fourth line, pretty much. Literally, add a third and fourth line,
And
with
they
your
never
pe-
lost any elite players.
and you lost no one
They
Yeah.
just added so much physicality and then at the same time so much more speed. Like
and
a
experience.
first round pick for Goudreau, like for them that's worth it because he's making.
Picks for playoff
Because-
teams doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, but like these like they overpaid because they know they can and they know they're smart with their cap too.
Yeah,
Like
like they signed Point last year for 3 years at like 6 million or 6.25
I think
million.
he's worth that much.
Yeah, I think,
But no,
I
he'll
think
get
he's
he'll
worth
get 8.
more.
I think he'll get like a Draisaitl contract. But if you look at it, it's just like everywhere you look, it's like, okay, defenseman. Like every team has a weak spot. They have a gray area, right? If you look at Boston, you kind of like, hey, their goaltending is pretty good. But if you look at it, okay,
The
they
defense
have
is kind of older.
their defense is like Krug, and then Krug's gonna be like 99.9% sure he's leaving, and then you have
McAvoy.
you have your line of Pasta, Marchand, and
Yeah.
Bergeron, which is like the top 3-4 line in the league, and then you have DeBrusque and then Andre Cash and those guys. But after that, you look at it, you're like, okay, and then you even look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has forwards, but do they have defensemen now? Like they're letting go of Schultz.
Yeah.
Letang's getting up there.
It's weird to think about, but like Boston and Tampa are very similar teams.
They are.
Just Tampa Bay's players are like
Younger
just
and
better.
quicker. They're younger.
They're
That's
set-
literally
they're,
if you
like
look at it.
Boston's a great team. Tampa Bay's the best team in the league.
They are by far.
Every single player is just fantastic.
That's by far.
And
That's
if,
just-
if they don't win the cup this year, no sympathy. Like you don't feel
can't.
like
Yeah.
that team is way too.
That's why I'm
stacked.
saying like this year, like when we were making like our predictions and brackets and stuff, it's like Tampa, like you have to win because, never mind on paper, like when you watch them, like just the eye test, like when you watch Tampa Bay, like for example, if you bought the top 5 teams in the league, and you put Tampa Bay and you put Carolina, like just to say for example, you put those two
Right.
against each other, and you watch them. And even though they're very like speed wise, they're like Carolina's a pretty quick team, right? Or even if you put Buffalo and Tampa, you know what I'm saying? Even if you put Tampa and Boston, and you're like, hey, play a game. No one knows hockey. No one knows seeding. No one knows nothing.
Don't know Tampa's
And they're like, hey,
dominant,
who's the best? Who's the best team here? You're gonna be like, hey, Tampa Bay. You look at their speed. You look at their grit. You look at their scoring, their playmaking, their rotations, their checking. It's just everywhere you look at it, like there's like it's insane. Like their cycle. If you look at it, like the way they enter the zone, and the one thing to their point is that their top players are not scared to like get dirty
Yeah,
and
it's
get
true.
down with it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at other teams like Boston, like Marchand's the only one who kind of like gets in the corners and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Pass is pretty much just in the slot waiting for a pass or whatever. But if you look at these guys, like Point goes in, Cooch goes in, Shattenkirk goes in, Hedman goes in,
They
Palat
play
goes in,
very aggressive in this.
Killorn, like
yeah.
like it's insane, and their
Like-
coach is very disciplined. Like
We,
8-2 right
we're
now.
talking about like the Islanders being probably the best defensive team in the league. Game 1 against Tampa Bay, they're
8-2.
losing 8-2.
how
Like,
what's the
that's-
shots on goal?
That's how good that this Tampa Bay team is.
They're no joke.
Shots on goal are 34-19.
There you go.
for
And
And
Tampa
honestly,
Bay.
if Tampa Bay
Look at that
wants,
defense. That defense by Tampa Bay, I'm telling you, like that Bogosian, they put
This Islanders team
Why
is
do you always
healthy.
talk about
There's
Bogosian?
nothing wrong with this
because like the
Islanders team.
Bogosian, like I remember when Buffalo released him and like he refused to like go to like the affiliate team,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, oh, Bogosian's on. He just reignited himself with Tampa. He's literally their fourth pairing,
Because they just need him to be that bottom pair guy. They're just like, hey, listen, you just be physical.
and he's
don't
actually
worry about it.
impacting the
Yeah.
game. That's the
Like
thing.
they acquired these players, giving them the roles that they're good at. Like 'cause
Yeah.
Coleman on New Jersey was a first line winger for
He
them.
was.
yeah,
On Tampa Bay, he's a third line guy who just brings speed
Checking
and
line, that's
physicality.
Even
all
look
it
at
is.
Carolina. Like Carolina in the trade deadline acquired more defensemen, which was like they got Sammy Vannon and Brady Shea.
Yeah.
And it's like they come like they're on their previous teams they were respectable first pairings. You come to Carolina, you're third pairing.
yeah.
You know, it's just like insane. That's what Tampa did essentially.
Tampa's
crazy.
just insane, and I honestly think that they're shooing for the cup,
They have to.
So
especially
I
now.
said,
Like Tampa versus Vegas is gonna be a 6
Vegas
series.
could shock them. Like Leonard or Fleury can like go lights out.
Yeah.
Right? They can out defend because Vegas is the only team that could beat Tampa Bay. I think.
That's yeah.
Mhm.
Like even though like I had Colorado in the finals and I had Tampa beating Colorado, the reason why I had that is because Colorado one is young. You know what I'm saying? Inexperienced, you can say in the finals, but at the same time, you gotta remember goaltending, and you can get out coached. Like at this point, like it's not like when someone like just a normal fan watches hockey, you can like there can be a person that watches hockey and you look
Yeah.
at it and you're like, okay, I understand what they're doing and how they're doing it. Like sometimes you gotta take a hit to make a play and stuff, and that's what Tampa does. And like just the way like if you look at it, every power play it looks the same. You know what I'm saying? You rotate it. There's always a defenseman covering the two wingers
Yeah.
and then someone covering the front of the net, right?
Yeah.
With power plays, you just got to be clinical.
But power plays you gotta be clinical with it, and you just like, do you know when to shoot, and do you know like, okay, if I can't pass it to Point, I'll give it to Hedman. If I can't pass it to Hedman, I'll give it to Cooch or Palat or Shot. Like it's just
These are
insane.
just some of the best players in the world, and
What they
they're all on
have
the same team.
at their disposal, like it's unbelievable.
Credit to them. Credit to the organization. Like
Shout-
if
shout out Steve
Stamkos-
Yzerman,
If
bro.
Stamkos comes back, it's a game over. Lights
Shout out Steve Yzerman. He should get a ring after
even
this.
even this new guy too, Breezewall. I think his
Yeah.
name Julian Breezewall. Like he's the one that made those trades. And
Yeah.
Credit to him.
And I remember when Drouin got traded for Sergachev, and I was like, whoa. And look at it now. That's a
Yeah.
pretty good trade for both teams. Don't get me wrong, but it worked out better for Tampa.
Okay, so since we're talking about Tampa Bay so much, Tampa versus Isles. Let's talk about the conference finals here.
We just finished gassing up
Tampa Bay the
like
crazy. I cannot wait for the CHP curse because it's a thing now. Whenever we gas somebody up,
You
they're
can't never predict who's gonna win the NHL,
No, you
the
can't.
Stanley Cup. Like out of the 16 teams, it's literally could be anybody. It's hard. It's really hard not to say Tampa Bay.
It's
this year.
hard.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Even last year too. Like
Last year-
I'm always picking Tampa Bay from.
So last year when Tampa got eliminated, you guys thought, okay, Boston. You know what I'm saying? Who the heck thought St. Louis?
If Tampa like last year, I had no idea who was gonna win. I just kind of
when,
like-
yeah, when
like,
Tampa was
whatever.
out, I was like,
I thought Boston. Like honestly, like Boston was pretty like formidable. Even this year, like people had Boston. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
can we
it's
talk
just-
about Boston real quick?
yeah,
I feel like, I could be wrong. This could be premature. I feel like we're witnessing the downfall of the Bruins. I just feel
I don't
like
think so.
things. I don't know. I just feel like this year, especially,
So-
there was so much stuff surrounding them.
So they won President's Trophy.
Yeah, I know
Okay,
that, but I'm just saying.
I get your point. So what I think with Boston though and Sweeney and how he does it is that Sweeney's their GM, right? So what
No,
he does
is
is
it Cam Neely or is it Todd
No,
Sweeney?
he's like
Tom?
like the
Assistant?
president.
Oh,
or
okay,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
so what they do is that they never drop. So if you look at it, they won the cup. They lost Sagan. They still had that. They didn't have Pasternak at the time, but they did have like Krejci
They
was
gave
still
away
elite.
Sagan.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they gave away Sagan for taken whatever they traded for Sagan. There's none of those pieces are no longer in their system.
Yeah,
So what they do is they're kind of like, let me tell you, like the Boston Celtics of the NBA or the Miami Heat of the NBA. So they never they dip, they make playoffs, but they're not challenging for a championship. But they don't make themselves look like sorry, like bad. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they don't go Buffalo, but
they don't. Yeah,
they dip.
yeah.
But like for example, the acquire talent, the draft talent, and they come in quick. Like if you look at it, like Pasternak is still going to be elite for another 8-9 years. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, at least
Marshawn's still
yeah.
going to be another elite for another
That's probably going to
6-7
be a
years.
top 3 line still next year.
And they're gonna acquire, like, people want to come to Boston. Free agents want to come to
Oh, for
Boston,
sure, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we'll talk about free agency in a bit, but I get to your point where like, hey, Halak's getting old.
Not only that, like I
the
feel
downfall of them.
I feel like they just need a really good second line center, like a
Dabrowski-
center who's a first line somewhere else.
Yeah,
They play him on the second line.
like
for
what
them
they
to
need is like
win.
they need their defense is gonna take a fall, obviously losing Krug, but McAvoy they're gonna want him as number one.
I also think Chara played his last game.
I
in
think
the
Chara will
NHL.
come back for one more year.
You
No,
think he
Chara
will?
said he did.
He'll-
He wanted to
he'll-
come back. And I think Krug, they're probably going to make him stay.
No, the thing is, I think a reporter asked him about like a bridge or a 1 year deal, and he said no. Like my time is now.
Right, but that doesn't mean Boston.
I don't
will
think
offer
they
him.
pay him though. I don't think Boston doesn't have a history of like overpaying a player ever. Like I don't remember any, like Bergeron was getting 8, and like you're like, wow, imagine
That's a big hole to fill if I'm Boston. Like
Krug,
who's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
do that
McAvoy. You need
power
McAvoy
play?
to step up.
I don't think he's that.
I
think
Krug's
he
a
will.
huge hole.
He's not a Tory.
He is, but like I said,
Yet.
like what about if they go and sign Pietrangelo? Like talk about it now. You know what I'm saying? Like that's who Boston is, and that's why I like to say like they always like bring on talent.
Yeah.
And never it's kind of like a dip like from Boston to
It's
Buffalo.
like every other Boston sports team. Like
Literally,
they never
Patriots.
suck. But honestly, I would. I don't know if this is a big segue, but I would be scared to sign Pietrangelo
Why?
because he's gonna like these monster deals now. They always end up biting teams in the butt.
So like I think with defensemen, like if you're talking about like, are you talking about like a Doughty monster deal?
I'm saying like yeah, something because like
That's a different. That's
I
not even
think-
a monster.
think
That's
he'll-
like mammoth. That's.
I think he'll command something close to like Yossi at least.
you pay him. You have to give him it.
Do you have to give him that?
But, like,
for
what's
another,
Yossi's
for another
contract?
for another 8 years?
Yossi
said-
wasn't 8 years. I don't think so.
Yossi's
like a 5.
he's 9.5 now.
9.5.
But
For
he
5
he was
years,
getting
though.
paid 4.
Yeah, even
like-
Petrangelo's getting paid what?
I think
You know, he was getting paid like 6.5.
6, yeah.
Yeah, well, like
He's gonna get 9 or 10.
he'll get.
I think he's worth 9 or 10. He's in
He
his
will.
prime.
You gotta remember defensemen. Like for
Yeah.
example, like if you look at Heiskanen and McCarr Hughes, those guys, their first contracts are gonna get like a Wierenski McAvoy kind of 3 year, 8 million or 7 million.
It'll be like a
contract.
rich kind
He
of deal.
captained a Stanley Cup winning team.
He did,
Yeah.
and he's still good. Like people thought, okay, last year was a fluke. The year before that was a fluke, right? They got rid of Justin Falk. He stepped up big time, like huge. So the year they got rid of, they acquired Justin Falk, and he's still like to bring in a defenseman that was almost like before Boychuk or Dougie Hamilton came in. It was
Yeah.
their number one. He came in. Falk came in and he still was their number one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though Falk would have been a number one on most teams, but
I don't like that they did that.
That's
I don't
what-
like it. That handicapped the
That
cap.
Blues went for the Falk and then paid him 7-2 or
Yeah.
something.
You know,
That
it-
kicks in not till next year too.
Especially if you're gonna try to re-sign your captain.
But
I
the
think
thing-
that's why they brought him
yeah,
in though.
the thing with Pietrangelo though, like it's not like he came out of nowhere either. Like this
No.
guy's
He's always been
this guy's been
prominent.
good his whole life.
Yeah.
It's just
he was
this-
a top 5 pick.
This
Like,
is his prime. His peak is coming up now.
right, and like he
Same thing with
he found
Yossi.
himself, and they won a Stanley Cup, and this guy's one of the best defensemen.
Even
in the
Hedman,
league.
but Hedman came up earlier. But Hedman was like, he got drafted, but he wasn't like wow. But like Hedman, like
It
like
takes a
3
long
years
time.
ago,
Yeah.
Hedman we knew okay, like this guy's elite, right?
My,
But
takes a long
I think my thing with Pietrangelo is like if he gets like Doughty contract.
he won't get Doughty.
I
Even
mean-
Doughty shouldn't have a Doughty contract.
I mean, because the Doughty contract heavily inspired the Subban contract and the Carlson
Subban's contract is before Doughty.
Was it before? No,
Oh, yeah.
you sure?
Subban's. I think Subban was
Oh,
the
you're
first
right. You're
defenseman.
right. You're right. Yeah.
It was like 8 by
Yeah.
8. He was the first defenseman to get like an
No,
absurd
it
contract.
was like 9-6 or 9
Something like
9
that.
times 6 or 9
But
times.
Yeah.
yeah.
that was like even forwards weren't getting money at that
Yeah,
time.
that
Like
was a
that.
stupid
It was
thing.
insane.
Real quick, I guess back to the conference final. Dallas and Vegas. Is it?
I'd
are we
say
all
Vegas.
agreeing that
So yeah, so
Vegas-
Dallas did beat Vegas
1-0.
with game 1, but I think I'm still gonna go Vegas in 6 games.
I think
I go
I think
6.
Vegas. I think Vegas too.
Yeah.
I go 6.
No, game one they're gonna readjust and then come back strong.
It's usually how it is. Yeah.
But then with the curse, that means we're gonna have a Dallas and Islanders final.
Could you imagine?
For sure.
Oh
Like,
my god.
That's disgusting.
Everything we
Don't
say,
say that. Don't
everything
say
we
that
say
stuff.
is an
It's
opposite.
gonna
The games
happen
are gonna
now.
be like 0-0, triple overtime for 7 games.
So let's
That's
get
it.
into now. So there's some quite hurtful comments about the Edmonton bubble. Some players were complaining about the amenities involved.
Amenities.
Yeah, and then it means
Who is this player?
Well, I know like it was actually the first player was anonymous. Jeez.
So I don't
they
think
came out-
Marchand
and they
complained.
they come out and said that Edmonton doesn't have like half the amenities that Toronto had, right? And then Marchand said in
The
an
players
interview,
were talking about it, not him directly,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
the players were talking.
we're talking about how basically Edmonton was gonna be a crappy experience
yeah.
compared to Toronto.
Compared to Toronto, right?
I mean-
I guess like Toronto, like if you looked at it, like play, like don't get me wrong, like here they sent them to the Commonwealth Stadium, they're playing that ball.
Yeah.
That sounds so like pathetic, but like I guess I don't know, like I don't know what they have in Toronto that Edmonton,
Well,
like
but, like,
you're in a
Toronto-
bubble.
Toronto has-
We're not gonna get political, but like don't come after a Canadian city because they know how to handle a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're right.
It's just like
Like
just doesn't make any sense. Rogers Place
Could
is
you imagine if-
statistically one of the best arenas in the league.
it is.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's
And
probably
ice.
one of the most beautiful
Best
arenas.
ice, probably the
Best
best ice in
ice.
the league. So it just doesn't make sense. It's ignorant. It really is.
Yeah.
It
But
is ignorant.
no, everybody has their opinion.
The
It's
thing with
okay.
NHL is I'll give them a bit of slack. Their players usually aren't like Hollywood, like they don't expect too much.
They can rough it
But
out.
I guess like
But I don't think they're making it seem like they're living in a shack behind like the river.
no, they're
You know what I
staying
mean?
in a 5-star
They're
hotel
in a 5-star
with,
hotel. I'm sure
with
they're
food
getting,
at any time.
Yeah.
You literally like you have literally less than a 0% chance, like no chance of getting COVID. You're in a
6 weeks-
bubble.
6 weeks in a row with no call.
It
You're
can,
chilling- you're
it
chilling
can
with
be,
the
it can be
boys.
boring though if you
Yeah,
think about it. Like,
Yeah, I
it's-
can
especially
see
like
that.
your wife, your kids and stuff. But
Yeah,
you're chilling
these-
with the boys.
yeah, these are
Yeah.
still people. Like they want to be with
course.
like their families
Well,
still. But
from what I heard, it's a young man's.
So
thing,
I
right?
think families are coming in now, starting to come in now.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, I believe so.
NBA they did that. I'm not sure.
NBA they did it. I'm pretty sure. I think what they said was Canadian players or Canadian families
Oh,
can
that's
start coming
right.
in now,
Yeah, you're right.
and then they'll slowly start bringing other families. But they can start because think about it.
Well, there's only 4 teams left.
If they kept 2 bubbles, that would have been way more money because if they started Pierre LeBron or something like it's expensive, very
Yeah,
expensive
yeah,
for a bubble.
Sure, man.
Like very.
You're catering to at least what? That's 150 people.
So first of all, yeah, like
Total?
more.
they're gonna have more, way more.
way more.
So you have staff, you have some players,
We're talking thousands.
Yeah, thousands.
Yeah,
Right.
players-
I'm saying like just for teams though.
Yeah.
Just,
players,
No.
refs, commentators. You have
you have journalists. You have
journalists.
Chefs, you have
chefs. You have like even like the lobby people or
Yeah, like
the
just
maids and
wait
all
stuff,
that
yeah.
stuff. Like you still have like the hotel still runs just privately, right?
yeah.
It's just there's a lot of people and like they're always bringing in stock and like it's crazy.
No, for sure. It's not. If you ever drive, like we live in Edmonton, obviously. If you're driving by Rogers Place now, there's always like huge semi trucks just parked up front, and they're just like
Dropping off.
constantly unloading stuff all day long.
But honestly, to that point, I think the bubble was extremely successful.
oh, for sure it was.
Huge.
You know what I mean, and like people are gonna have knocks in Edmonton. You know what I mean, we don't have.
I don't know how they're gonna do it next year though.
Yeah, what are they gonna do next year? Like every city?
I think they're gonna have. I think I saw a report like 6 or like all like imagine having all Canadian cities. So imagine having Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, Vancouver. Who else? Am I
And then you
missing?
play like in MLB. You play series. You play one team 4
Am I
times in a
missing
row.
a Canadian team?
Winnipeg, Toronto,
Ottawa.
Ottawa,
6. So 6 Canadian cities, right?
Quebec Nordiques,
So like you can have 6 cities,
Atlanta
32
Atlanta
teams,
Thrashers.
32 teams.
Calgary Lames.
Yeah. So like the thing is, but the only thing is like to Ozzy's point is like, okay, if you're having on like for example Edmonton wants to versus Washington, that for the 1 game per season, like how they supposed to do about that,
Well,
right?
they might.
Like imagine like versing like first of all, I think they have a shortened season, like 60 games, and then like imagine versing Calgary. Like for Edmonton it works because like usually like if they verse like a California team, it's usually
A road
LA,
trip.
Anaheim.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying, right back to back. But that'd be like
They
I
might do
guess
like
so.
centralized bubbles where it's like, okay, whatever's closest to this team. I mean, like, so the California teams, they have one bubble that does all the California teams. I don't know how
They
it's
might
gonna
just
work.
do conference, just split it in conference.
They'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah,
They'll
they
figure
won't-
it out.
Yeah,
I don't know if they. It's hard to figure out. Like, what if they just say, you know what, it's okay, we're gonna do maximum 5,000 fans every city.
Football's doing that. Some arenas are allowing I think it was like 20% capacity or whatever.
Like nobody really.
But you gotta remember, a football
nobody really
stadium's
cares anymore,
humongous.
you know?
NFL?
Like no, I'm just saying like nobody really cares. Like
What about
No.
COVID?
right,
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
just doesn't really mind anymore.
No.
Like it's, everyone's wearing.
It is.
masks.
You gotta remember at the same time, like life does go on, and I'm not saying like of course the virus is still out there, right? It's not gonna disappear, but people stuff you gotta live.
It's still as dangerous as it was before,
Yeah.
but people like the care level of people.
You gotta
it's
remember,
gone
like,
down.
if you look at it, like, for example, us, like, if you told us, okay, COVID in March, we were scared to step out of our houses.
yeah,
But you're telling us now, okay, if, for example, if you got it, you have a very, 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 very high chance of living. One.
yeah,
Sometimes you don't have symptoms and you just some. But I guarantee you, so many people that had it don't even know
They really
about it.
had, yeah.
But it's just like, it's the other people that get it, and if they get it, they have a high. They have a higher chance.
Risk. There's risk factors.
There's
you know what I
risks attached to it, but again, like, it's pandemic. It's not like it's the seasonal flu or whatever.
Mm.
Even though seasonal flu is pretty bad too, but I guess so.
It's better safe than sorry. Still,
Exactly,
But,
yeah.
With
But no,
sports,
in
it's
regards-
difficult.
mean? In regards to sports, people are gonna easily say like, you know, like, oh, it's not necessary. We don't need it 100%.
Even when the NHL is coming back and like I remember Tampa Bay started getting these cases and
yeah,
St.
who
Louis.
came out and lost and they said that I think COVID affected their play. Was it Florida?
sounds like a top.
Dave Talon?
Sounds like
What's his name? The
Oh,
one
Dale,
that-
Dale Talon.
He came out
Oh,
and
I
he's
never
like
heard about this.
he's like he literally said
He's under investigation.
I
right
believe
now.
it's either him or St. Louis, one of the two.
Is that why they
That
fired him? 'Cause
COVID-
he got COVID.
No, that COVID affected their players
mental.
no like their
It's
how
fatigue.
they played on the ice. And I always thought, I was like, well, excuse you. Know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, I get it, but like, damn, like, you know?
Well, Dale Talon's actually under fire since you mentioned him. If that was him that said that, he's under fire because he made some.
You want to check that out, Ozzy? Just Google it. Be like, just type in literally like GM or coach player COVID affecting like playing style, whatever it was. That's
NHL
crazy.
players.
Right now, Dale Talon's under investigation
Yeah,
because
it's
he
racist remarks or something like that.
racist or he criticized the.
So you know what's so
movement.
bad? So I
You
think what they said during Matt Dumba's speech.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was even worse to me? He's like, I didn't even watch Matt Dumba's speech. He's like, I didn't know Matt Dumba had. I was like, that's even worse, bro. Like the fact that you're not even acknowledging the fact that the guy made a speech is unbelievable.
Yeah,
I can't
He's-
find anything. It's just telling me test results.
St. Louis
Yeah,
GM.
this GM. So it was the Blues that GM.
What did he say? You want to quote me? I can.
He just said that affected the return.
It affected the return, right?
Wait,
That's
wait, like,
insane to
wait,
me, bro.
did you find it so
But my thing was that it probably did though. Like this is all.
I
different
get that, but
circumstances,
Tampa had COVID. I know that for a fact. Like a lot of their players had COVID. You
They
know what I'm
went on a
saying?
boat. They were boating or something.
Yeah, like they were
boat-
so
I don't know.
stupid.
Well, there was like someone was like, "Oh, sorry that Edmonton doesn't have pool parties because apparently
Yeah.
Toronto had like apparently they're having massive pool parties in Toronto."
What's with this stripper? I hope it was a meme or something. Like the Vancouver kind of got Fencer Demko. And,
Yeah,
like,
I saw that too.
and
I
they
don't know
got
if it was a
fined
joke,
or something. I don't know. I hope.
Someone
I
said
think it was
something
a
like
joke.
but
That's pretty funny.
there's gonna be so many stories coming out of the bubble of like
Oh yeah,
crazy stuff that
100%,
happened.
1000%.
There's gonna be some crazy stuff going on. But
Oh yeah, and
What
one
a time
thing.
to be alive.
Yeah, like I think you guys
Right.
mentioned on the last episode. I wasn't here though, but like players standing up and boycotting the games for obviously the Black Lives and the police brutality and everything. Shout out to them due to the like even though the NHL came out and did like the which is I think was complete bullshit with the first day about like 30 seconds of silence.
30 seconds.
no,
That's
it was
generous.
7?
It was
Like-
literally like 6 seconds.
whatever it
like
was.
moment of silence for
Whatever it
the
was,
Black
like-
Lives Matter
And
movement.
now let's roll the national anthem.
And then like
It
3
was
seconds
horrible.
later.
You know what I'm saying?
And now.
yeah,
Like
it was
just-
whoever thinks like don't get me wrong, like I guess like you can say like of course the NBA is a predominantly African American league and the NHL there's more white people than black people, right? But it's all one now. Like people are kind of like forgetting that part. It all has to be one. I guess like shout out to them for like finally recognizing K.
You know-
And shout out to the player. Actually, the one thing I want to mention, it was the players. It
Yeah.
was player driven, and that's what Matt Dumba and Evander Kane and those guys want to stress, that it was player driven
they did a
to
very
stop
good job.
the games.
Yeah.
And like you want to like shout out to them for like even though it was like for a couple days it was still done. And even the NBA, man, like some of those players were ready to walk out. Like it really shows like those guys they're multi-millionaires. They have everything you want, and at the end of the day, some of them it doesn't directly affect them. They go home, they have whatever. Like LeBron James goes home, he has security at home.
These athletes are
He can do whatever he wants, right? But
They're
they know
privileged, yeah.
they're in a spot where they can take it, and they have the platform where
Yeah.
like, hey, even like Shannon Sharp on Undisputed, he uses his platform. Stephen A. Smith,
There's
like,
a lot of people.
all
that
those
came
guys,
out,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the NHL and the NBA and all the other leagues that took stance, even the WNBA, all those guys.
These
so.
like NBA, NHL, like $billion companies.
billion-dollar
Yeah, yeah.
companies.
I mean,
And I think
give back.
I saw a
Give back
report.
to these these societies or
Sagan-
this society. these
Sagan and
communities.
another player on Dallas when they were kneeling with Leonard and Reeves. I think it was a qualifying round game.
Yeah.
There was a report that Dallas had a few season ticket holders call in and cancel their tickets. Like,
Yeah.
bro, you guys don't matter, bro. You get the scum of the earth if you think like
That's
if you think that okay, they're kneeling because they're disrespecting the flag.
bro. I mean,
I'm not even getting
Texas,
into this, bro.
right?
Literally, let's just
Red
move on
state.
before I lose my mind.
That's it's not a political
Texas,
podcast.
get
Yeah.
out of here with that bullshit.
You ever been to Texas?
No,
You ever been to Arizona?
It's kind of nice.
I've been to Lebanon.
Okay. Lebanon's the Texas in the Middle East. Pierre Maguire interviews for the Arizona Coyotes.
I
Yes.
love Pierre Maguire, bro. They
Really? Really?
He's funny, bro.
Yeah, he's funny.
No,
I hope he gets a job.
he's
I
not-
Pierre Maguire?
It's just awkward.
It would be so. It'd be a troll of the league. That would be funny. Like,
Oh yeah, trolling
me
with the
wrong.
teams.
like
Him
imagine him going to Arizona. Wow.
and the broadcaster Eddie Olczyk as well.
yeah, he got.
How are these guys getting GM interviews?
That's how it works. That's how it works.
How does it work, man?
You're in the business for a certain long amount
But
of time.
like,
you go in.
but
they're
what do you
reporters.
do though? You're
Yeah.
a journalist.
But they've played the game.
Okay,
I'm trying to
so
tell you.
what?
You're a journalist, bro. Look at
Okay.
the NBA.
But what I'm saying to you is that just because you play the game doesn't make you automatically a GM.
I guess that's how it works.
I don't. For me, it's like I just found that weird.
That and it's just like Peter Shirley
Okay,
as well
exa-
getting
to my
interviewed.
point, would you want Peter
It's
Shirley
the
or
most
Pierre
insane
Maguire?
thing. Somebody with that track record still getting interviews,
Jeez.
ridiculous.
what blows my mind is
Absolutely crazy.
there's people that will avidly defend Shirley. Like they'll say,
Who?
"Oh, you know."
Who?
I've talked to people.
St.
and, like,
Louis.
the-
Isn't he with St. Louis right now, bro?
He was with St. No, he was with
He's probably the
Minnesota.
one that told the GM to come out with the COVID thing. bro.
just like
I got an idea.
Doesn't
I
make
got
any
an
sense
idea.
to me.
But what I'm saying to you is that like these players that used to play in the league, they get jobs coaching, GMing. You know what I mean? How Gretzky was a coach. Remember how that went?
Arizona, I think
Yeah,
it was, right?
Gretzky coached Arizona. Arizona's just like a meme now. They're
There's
hiring
some-
anybody.
There's
Back
some
to
players. There's some players that they just like even like LeBron James came out and said he's like I'm not going to be a coach. He's like I'd love to be an owner of a team, but I don't have patience to coach a team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
No.
saying. It's
Well, like, I
just-
mean, like you got Steve Eiserman though. You know, what I mean, he's GMing a team
Yeah.
very well, fairly well.
I think that Detroit team helped him a lot because he saw for example, Johan Franzen was a very underrated player on their team, right?
Yeah.
But he was like
Joe Sakic took him
Insane.
a while.
Joe
to
Sakic took him a while
make-
too.
make smart moves too.
even Mark. I think not Naslund, the guy in Vancouver.
Trevor Linden.
Trevor
Trevor
Linden.
Linden too, yeah.
So like, even Martin Brodeur, I think right now is St. Louis too.
That's what it is, and it's
Yeah.
like it's like that for NBA and NFL too. Like, if you're a player, you get a good opportunity to have
You take
an
it.
office job if you want
For
it.
sure, yeah, for sure. Because I know like Brodeur. Remember, he actually got traded to St. Louis, or he signed with St. Louis. He played
Oh,
like
that's
2
a-
or 3 games with them,
That was
He
so
took-
weird.
And
He
then
took
he
a
re-
management position.
and
Right
then
Why
he
would he do
retired.
that?
He retired to become a goalie coach for them.
yeah.
Why did
So-
Brodeur play for St. Louis? That was so weird.
That was a weird thing.
such a weird thing. To
One
say.
of the-
You know,
one
there's a
the
lot of
greatest.
players that played for other teams, and you're like, when did that happen?
One of the greatest.
Remember,
man,
Alfredson played 1 year in Detroit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like weird. Like,
Yeah.
buddy, just don't play. Like, I don't
Just
know.
be, I
Like,
don't
kind
know,
of like Shane Doan. Shane Doan didn't really go anywhere. He just retired.
he
with
stayed like
Arizona.
the same team like forever. You know what I mean?
Sundin to Vancouver.
Vancouver
as
for
well.
what 3 games?
He actually was playing pretty good for them too.
He didn't play much, did he?
No, he played a year.
Oh, a full year.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think he had like 50 or 60.
That was a
Guys
big deal
with,
too.
Sedin twins.
Sundin was pretty good.
That was a big deal with them.
Yeah.
Even like Yager too. He's still playing.
Yeah,
Yager's
Yager,
okay because he
Oh,
he was already bouncing around.
Hop
teams.
on the train. Where am I? Where am
You
I
know
going
Yager
next
right now. I don't know where he's playing in like the Swedish league or whatever. He's the coach, the GM, and a player.
Isn't it Datsuk too? Datsuk, I
I'm
believe.
not sure. What
No,
that's
he's still playing for.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think
Petersburg.
doesn't he like own a part of the team or whatever?
I'm sure he does. The guy made a lot of
Vladimir
money.
Vladimir Putin owns that. They have to win every year.
Remember when he slept on the red carpet?
Hey, careful.
But the
Vladimir
best,
Putin.
yeah, the best videos of all time is Putin playing against the retired men's.
Yeah.
Roll the footage?
The Russian hockey league when they're scared to let him score. Like they're scared to defend him, so they'll just like move out of the way slowly, and he's like hobbling on the ice
He
and putting the
scores a
puck in the
goal.
net. And then the whole audience is like cheering because if they don't cheer loud enough, they'll kill their families.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty
the
funny.
guy's
Let's not get political.
Yeah.
power move. No,
Moving on.
yeah. Let's talk about a little bit of free agents because that's what everybody's talking about now.
Who are the big ones? We got Taylor
Pietrangelo.
Hall, Pietrangelo.
Um,
What's his name? Marcus or Mikael Granlund is came
Like,
out.
yeah, he's
He
testing
He
it.
said he's
yeah.
gonna test free
testing
agency.
it. Well, there's a lot of trade bait, right? You got Matt Murray, you got Frederick Anderson, you
Matt
got
Murray 100%
Tyson
gonna get
Berry's a
traded.
free agent.
Braden Holtby,
Brayden Holtby's a free
Thomas
agent.
Grice, Markstrom. It's a good goal year.
That's a goalie year.
it's a big goalie year. Where do you guys think Freddie goes?
Like that. So the Leafs, anyone that they're gonna trade for defenseman.
is he a free
no,
agent?
No.
he has
He's 1 year left.
1 year left.
He's only making
I don't know.
$6 million.
That's
a year?
why I'm confused too on why the Leafs media want him out. I'm confused because if the Edmonton Oilers had Frederick Anderson, we would sign him to a 10-year by $10 million contract. But you guys out here $4.5 million, and you guys, we want Matt Murray. Like, what do
You know what I don't get about the Anderson thing? he's the
he
last
faces
problem.
the most shots in the league.
He's the last problem they have.
No,
I don't get
Yeah,
how
really.
they can
They
point
just-
it at
They
him.
need an Adam Larson on that team.
yeah, they do.
And the Oilers
And
need
it's been
a,
William
the Oilers
Nylander.
need a William Nylander.
It's
I
just
mean,
it is a one for
Well, you
one.
know what, for some reason, like the Maple Leafs love Dorian Ehlers.
Oh, did you know?
Like
Hey,
the Leafs
no.
media, like they're
you
fans.
know William Nylander's a franchise player.
Oh my god!
You
Don't
didn't
get me
hear?
started on that
I
right
read
now.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
ridiculous.
franchise. Apparently, the numbers don't lie. Apparently,
But I think
No, apparently you watch one good game of McKinnon as well, and he's the best player in the world.
yeah.
yeah.
In all seriousness, I think Frederick Anderson gets anyone that Toronto trades. Like look at Kapanen, they got a hole for Kapanen. Jeez, like.
Yeah.
But I think anyone that the Leafs trade is going to be for defensemen. If they sign Pietrangelo, then they'll do like a Frederick Anderson for Matt Murray, plus whatever.
But
right?
why
The-
would
the-
you swap them?
Just
Why-
keep,
why-
just keep.
I just don't
Anderson.
understand.
Just
And
keep
then you
Anderson.
guys, okay, where's Holby gonna go? Is Holby gonna go to Calgary?
I hope to God, hope he does not come to Edmonton.
Like
I don't want that. I don't.
I just think he goes to.
I
Isn't
don't
he
think
from
that's
there?
that bad.
Is he from Calgary?
No, he's from Lloydminster.
From Lloyd, right?
Lloydminster, Alberta. So
Somewhere
it's
in
closer to Edmonton.
Okay. Well, if Edmonton, Calgary, same thing, right? So-
Lloydminster. Fun fact: half of it is Saskatchewan, and
Yeah.
half of it is in Alberta.
Yeah.
I know a guy that's
You
from
can
there.
cross the border.
That's a fun fact.
That's a fun fact.
But yeah, I think Holby,
On purpose.
Pietrangelo. I think like if the Leafs can get him, but they're gonna pay. They're
Leafs
gonna have
not
to
getting
pay him.
Pietrangelo, man. Stop creating
I'm
this
just
stigma
saying.
that they
I'm
get
just
every
saying.
player.
But I think if Pietrangelo doesn't stay with St. Louis, personally, I think he'd go to Boston.
I don't think
I don't think he'll go to a Canadian team if it's not Toronto. Toronto will
have
be
to-
the only one.
We have to look at the teams that have money.
Boston will have money if they get rid
Montreal has
of
lots of
Torrey
money.
Krug and DeBrusque if they don't re-sign him because they probably won't be able to afford him. They'll have money for Pietrangelo.
I want the Oilers to get DeBrusque.
Yeah, play
I
with
want the
him.
Oilers to get everybody.
Yeah, me too.
But I think
we're not
Edmonton,
Oilers fans. We're NHL fans.
Yeah,
Edmonton's a very unique situation. They need the forwards
Yeah, we have-
surprisingly. Like we go from we needing defensemen to we need defensemen and forwards to go needing forwards
And a goalie.
and a goaltender.
And we have like 82 grand of cap.
And maybe
space.
Matt Murray or Frederick Anderson comes here. I'd love Frederick Anderson on the Oilers.
I love Matt Murray on the Oilers.
Any
or Thomas
goaltender.
Grice or
Yeah.
Tristan
Or
Jarry.
a pylon,
You
you
know,
know?
Like Mike Smith, like he had his moments.
Yeah,
this
shout
year.
out Mike Smith,
No,
honestly.
he had
He's
his
pretty
moments
good,
this
though.
past year, but like 41.
Even
I don't
okay,
know.
listen, Koskinen I defend because he's a good goalie, but
he can't take
you'd
on the
want,
workload.
he's not a Fred like he's a starting goalie but on the fringe, you know, like he's kind of like a on the
He
he's high
can't-
second, low one.
he
He's
can't
not a
do the-
50 game. He's not a
No,
50
he
game
can't.
goalie.
He can't do
no.
the full
That's
workload.
that's why
Like, he
it's,
can do
that's why
45, 40.
It's
Yeah.
Mike. It's
You
like
know?
that's why it's Smith and him, right? But we need like Edmonton needs to get rid of that cap, both of them,
Edmonton
and bring
does-
in one goalie that
No,
is proven.
I think you can just get like another decent goalie, and then you can split the time
Yeah.
with Koskinen and him.
Edmonton
no problem.
desperately needs
But that'll
someone.
be expensive, very expensive.
We need someone in house.
Not that expensive.
We need
though.
like another Yamamoto story. To
They
come
need
out.
they need a draft and
Yessi
the
Puljujärvi.
goalie's different though.
Ooh.
He's coming back.
I could see him coming back.
Goalie's different though, right? You gotta draft him. Like look at Carter Hart. It took him a while.
It took
even
him,
though he
it
was
took him a while, but like, not even though, like what, he's
even like
21?
goalies are late bloomers, right? Like Carter Hart's Carey Price 2.0, but goalies are late bloomers. Like if you look at it, like who was it? Like Markstrom was a late bloomer. Like he's 30.
Yeah, Markstrom was a very late bloomer.
Price is like a one-off. Like we didn't talk about him. Vasilevsky's was insane. Georgiev,
Vasilevsky's only
Shesterkin,
23, 24.
Georgiev, Shesterkin, those boys. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
Even though they ripped it up in their leagues, but it was insane, man. Honestly, there's gonna be a lot of the
It's gonna be a
NHL.
big
There's
summer.
gonna be a big facelift and a lot of players swapping and a lot of. It's gonna be. it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
think a
interesting.
lot of players are gonna be moved this summer.
It sucks
It's
because the
fun.
cap's not going up,
Staying stagnant for another 2 years, I believe.
which is messed up.
Will be.
which is actually not messed up, but like not fun. Because then
Yeah.
you're gonna see less trades, less big moves, more internal.
I think you'll see
growth.
big moves because like for cap, but I think like end of next year is you're gonna see the big because like there'll be one where you're like, for example, Tampa is gonna have to make moves. They're gonna have to like you can't like you already
Tampa has a 2-year window.
yeah.
It's this
Even
year
though
and
they
next year.
have their core, they have Hedman, Vasilevsky, Stamkos, and Kuch locked up. They need the Pilots, the Kalorns of the world to.
No, I think as long as they have Vasilevsky, Hedman,
And Kuch.
Kuch,
Point-
and Stamkos,
They have them locked up.
I honestly think
like,
I could
they'll
see
be a
them-
contender for years.
I would move Stamkos if I'm not.
Mm-mm.
Why? No.
They're winning. They're winning without him.
Okay, doesn't
Yeah, it
Like
doesn't matter.
tons.
though.
He's
They're
your
winning
captain.
tons without him.
He's gonna lift the cup without playing a game. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
In the playoffs at least. Okay, guys, thanks for watching Clean Hit Podcast Episode 5. Make sure to catch us on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Subscribe, like, notifications, all that good stuff.
Clean Hit Podcast.
Clean Hit Podcast, Instagram, Twitter. DLP comes back on Monday, apparently. That'll be fun to do. I'll be there probably on that one too as well.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
for
next week.
episode 6.